Hey guys, make sure to check out our second channel, link is down in the description. Managers of Reddit, what made you fire an employee on their first day? Well, second day for this one. Old guy, kept dozing off during training. Denied it when I addressed him about it, and yet it kept happening. Fired him for it on day 2. Fast forward maybe 8 months, he emails me to let me know that he really had been falling asleep and I had been justified with the action I took. He realized there was an issue a few weeks after I terminated him because he fell asleep while driving and rear-ended another vehicle. Went to a specialist as a result, and they found that the Parkinson's medication he'd started shortly before beginning training was making him narcoleptic. Said he had rectified that with new meds and asked for a second chance. Gave him the opportunity for a do-over. And lo and behold, he's a good employee. Eater, lol at the assumptions being made below about lawsuits or overreacting or being afraid of looking bad when it's clearly an abridged version of an event. To simplify it for the purposes of this thread, I stand by my original decision, just as I stand by deciding to bring him back after he offered me context and a mea culpa. Also, to the kind comments about me as a manager, I learned what kind of manager I wanted to be by occasionally having a poor one myself. My staff are given forthrightness, clarity of expectation, and as much transparency as I can offer them. In return I want honesty, a reasonable level of performance/productivity and good effort at doing their work well. Pub and bar manager here. This happened at my previous pub. New guy's first shift, and he was constantly on his phone and going for cigarette breaks without permission. 2 hours into his shift his mates came in and he gave them all free drinks, shots, and snacks. A few of them were under 18. Fired him on the spot, and he had the audacity to appeal, despite overwhelming evidence against him including 5 witness statements and CCTV, not to mention the stock count deficit. Edit, just to clarify, I'm from the UK, England. Chief officer of a merchant vessel here. Technically, second in command of the ship after the captain. A seaman joined our ship while our vessel was berthed in Mobile, Alabama. He was carrying a plastic water bottle during familiarization rounds on deck with the third officer, and when it was empty proceeded to throw the bottle overboard. My Russian captain saw this, calmly asked me to call the seaman to his office, gave back all his documents, asked the agent to book him a flight back to where he came from. All of this happened in a span of 3 hours. Guy lied about knowing how to drive forklift. Drove into support beam. To Europeans, there's no such thing as a forklift license in the US. When you go to a new job you have to redo the exam again. There's also no official exam, so every place does it their own way. I did this, but I didn't lie. They brought in a stand-up forklift, and I had never been trained. I did fine for the first 7 HRS 55 minutes. My team leader was really pleased that I had picked it up quicker than most. 5 minutes before the end of my shift I clipped the beam. I bent it slightly. My team leader came running up, and after finding out I was okay started laughing. We had to go up to the office and take a drug test. I was clean, but it's procedure. Never heard about it again. I had an employee call off on her first scheduled day. On her second scheduled day, she showed up 2 hours late. This was a sub shop. We weren't open yet, but we had been in doing prep, baking bread, and building our sub trays for catering orders. We told her that this wasn't going to work out, and she got pissed. She started yelling that we were all racist jerks, and as she stormed out the door, she knocked over stacks of sub trays. We lost 15 trays to her tantrum. My boss went running out the door after her, and the girl's boyfriend got out of the car and reached behind his back swearing and telling my female boss that if she keeps stepping to them, that he would stop her. Good. We are pretty sure that he had a gun. My boss checked the license plate and came back in. We had all of this girl's information, address, phone, social security, etc. from the paperwork, so with that and the security footage of her destroying the trays, we were able to press charges for the damage. I was assistant manager at Subway. I usually like to give people time. It's a tougher job than it seems from the outside. Everyone sucks at first, and taking someone's livelihood away is not a decision to be made lightly. But I had one lady who only lasted 3 hours. She was perfectly fine for the first couple minutes while the store manager was there, but she had a doctor's appointment, so she introduced us and told the new employee I was in charge when she wasn't there. As soon as my boss left, this lady just flatly ignored me when I asked her to do stuff like food prep or dishes. So I was already pretty pissed, but trying to be patient. When we got busy, I stationed her putting veggies on sandwiches. She said a few things to customers that annoyed me, but nothing too bad at first. Then one guy asked for extra olives, and she told him no. He was a bit offended and asked again, and she practically shouts, "You don't need any more olives, you have plenty." So I tell her to give him the olives he's asking for. Then she starts shouting at me about Subway standard veggie portions, like I wasn't the one who taught her 45 minutes ago. I tried a little to explain that it's a default amount, but customers can get extra, no big deal. She wasn't having it, so I stepped away from my station, gave the poor guy his olives, and apologized. That's when she lost it and started screaming that I was undermining her. I told her to go do dishes and I'd cover her station. She went storming off, thank God. I was already planning on talking to the store manager about it, because holy crap. But as luck would have it, the franchise owner dropped in for something or other. As soon as new girl realized who he was, she started ranting about how I didn't control my veggie portions or some crap and I should be fired. When the franchise owner took my side, obviously, she shouted at him too. That was that, except that she called the store manager later, in tears, begging to know what she'd done wrong, and made it sound like she didn't realize I was her boss or that shouting at the owner about how he doesn't know how to run a business is inappropriate. My boss hired a new lab technician, I'm the manager, so he had to report to me. At the end of the shift he tried to clean medical equipment with dish soap, cause he didn't want to wait for the machine to finish, which the other crew would be responsible for. He tried to microwave blood in a microwave for food. And last but not least he forgot to put someone in the freezer for 5 hours. He was such a mess. What kind of job is this? Dacre. The guy signed a non-disclosure as we were working around movie sets and production offices. Throughout the day he continuously asked if he could take photographs. Finally, I realized that his employment was not worth risking my own employment or the production company's information. He was relocated elsewhere, but he did not last long from what I hear. I feel this. We had a secured room where we explicitly said no photo/video. People took video of some spicy food potluck they had. To their credit they deliberately framed the shot to exclude all the confidential data, but it was on YouTube and shared before I found out. I had to have some very unpleasant conversations with the team after that. Hired a guy on the recommendation of another employee. He no-call no-showed the first day. Second day he no-call no-showed, but halfway through the day, called to tell me that his kid was sick, which I'm sympathetic for, because I have kids too, but I had to tell him we couldn't use him. Then waves of abusive texts and phone messages from him and his wife. His final text was super long and explained how I'd just made it an enemy for life and that he was going to get even by starting up a rival business and putting me out of business. If only he'd put that much energy into showing up. I'm not the manager in the story, but I was therefore part of it. Dude gets hired, starts training. During training, GM instructs him to take out the trash. He refuses, gets into an argument. Apparently, he didn't know that he was arguing with the GM despite the big fancy name tag with General MANAGER asterisk printed in block letters on it. Gets sent home. For some reason, he still comes in the next day, smelling of alcohol. He grabs food, this is a restaurant, without paying, right in front of everyone, including a manager. He then proceeds to start coming at a server, because they couldn't tell him where the tequila at silverware was, not the server's job. This evolves into a literal fight and the police get called. We never saw him again after that. This was all before his first actual day of work. I'm a bar and restaurant manager. One day the new kitchen porter walked through the front entrance carrying a huge bag of cheese over his shoulder, which the head chef had told him to pick up. He walked through the restaurant and, right in front of customers, launched it through the hatch in the kitchen, flying through the air as everyone just watched open-mouthed. The huge bag of cheese landed hard in the deep fat fryer. The chef working near it got scalded in hot oil and had to go to R&D. He's the only person I've sacked on their first day. I'm mostly pretty chill, but he was just a walking health and safety nightmare. Even after everything that happened, he still couldn't accept responsibility or apologize to the chef he hurt. He's the only person I've let go without a hint of remorse or sadness. The safety of your team always comes first. I know my application said I can work anytime, but really I can't work nights and weekends. She was hired for nights and weekends.